What's good, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Puncher's Point. Put your seatbelt on because this is a two-topic episode today. According to Scott Thompson from Fox News, Mike Tyson was nauseous and dizzy coming from a flight between Miami and Los Angeles. Now, of course, y'all know Mike Tyson, he's up there in age. He's 57 years old, and he's actually scheduled to be having a bout with Jake Paul. Y'all know how I feel about that situation. If anything, I know they're saying that he's recovering, he's doing well now. But at the same time, though, I still don't think this is a good idea for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson to be having a fight. I think if anything, they need to go ahead and cancel this fight. Y'all seen it, heard about it. Fox News, Scott Thompson has came out, and apparently Mike Tyson was not doing well in the flight between Miami and Los Angeles. Now, here's the thing that I gotta say, right? Y'all know how we feel about this fight. If anything, this is probably one of the most cases of desperation for attention and money, right? And I understand what a lot of people are trying to say is that, oh, Mike Tyson, he can do this, he can do that. Look, Mike Tyson was great when I wasn't even thought of. Mike Tyson was great when Mario wasn't even thought of. Y'all know how long ago that was? Yeah, we wasn't even born, okay? Can we stop that and put that to rest? The man came off of surgery. Now the man is having medical issues. He's having nauseations, and now he's dizzy on flights and whatnot. They need to call this fight off. I'm telling y'all right now, when this fight happens, bro, a lot of y'all gonna be disappointed. I'm telling y'all right now, this fight should not be happening. It's actually honestly disgusting that this fight is still happening. I don't care what anybody say. If all you little Jake Paul little kids and whatnot, I'm letting y'all know right now. If he decides that he really want to test those waters, I guarantee you right now, it's a whole lot of hungry lions in that division. I'm telling you right now, you ain't gonna see him messing with Ja Opataya. But look, that's enough of me talking. Mario, what's your thoughts on this whole situation between Mike feeling dizzy, between the fight even still going on and even being looked at as an actual pro fight?
Anything I do want to say, I'm glad that Mike Tyson is recovering. I'm glad that he's okay and that he's doing great. Now, people could say that, he's having these issues because he's getting old in age. Maybe he just gets airsick. I know many people, young, old, who get airsick, so maybe that's part of it as well. Who knows? All I know is this. We've seen the videos of Mike Tyson not having trouble walking. We've seen those videos, and he said he was just sore. Now, this comes about with him getting nauseous on the plane, and he said he's doing great. If I'm Jake Paul, I'm really looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, why am I even having this fight? That's what I'm asking myself. Why are you even having this fight at this point? First of all, nobody was going to give you credit before. Now, they're definitely not going to give you credit. So the way I look at it, this just discredits Jake Paul even more. Jake Paul, I was respecting what he was doing. A lot of people were saying he was fighting trash cans and bums. Okay, first of all, if you go look at a lot of professional fighters' records when they first started, they were all fighting bums. A lot of those records for the first 4 or 5 fights were records that were either 50% or they were like 2-10 or whatever the case might be. This is what you did. You took guys that you knew they could beat, and that's how you had them start their professional career. So I didn't trash Jake Paul for that because I actually commended him for trying to take the boxer's route. But how are you going to go from that to fighting a 57-year-old Mike Tyson? Now, that's going to be a name that's going to be on his resume. But I mean, if we really look at it, there's a lot of guys who have beaten Mike Tyson in his later career, and we don't even know who they are. So this doesn't legitimize Jake Paul one bit. This doesn't give him a good reputation, a good image. If anything, this is just a step back. I'm gonna say this, and if I'm Mike Tyson, I need to start calling off this fight. Look, I know boxers got a lot of pride, especially the old timers and everything like that. But you got to start calling off this fight. If you're having stints where you can't walk, and he said it was soreness, sure. But if you're going through like being airsick and nauseous and everything like that, that might be one thing. But I truly do believe that in my whole heart, his age is a big reason why this fight is not a great idea. And I think he realizes that his age is up there and he doesn't want to admit it. I think it's a lot of pride. The last thing I want to see is Mike Tyson get dropped by a guy who was on Bizarre Bark. Okay. That's the last thing I want to see. And look, I know he's a different guy than what he was on Bizarre and on Disney Channel and all that. And when he was doing the YouTube channel and when he was doing Team 10 and It's Everyday Bro, I know he's a different guy than all those types of things. I know he's got some boxing skills, but the last thing I need to see is Mike Tyson going to the ring with this guy. And now there's a lot of old time fans who are going to watch this fight and are saying Mike Tyson's going to mess him up. He still got that in. I'm like, and I tell them, I'm like, look, as much as you would like to believe that, I don't think you have watched the sport since Mike Tyson has been in the ring. So with that being said, he's not the same guy that he was when he was 57 years old. You go back and you watch that Roy Jones Mike Tyson fight. I'm gonna tell you guys this right now. I don't like to get personal on this podcast. Roy Jones is my favorite fighter of all time. Number 2 is Mike Tyson. I got to witness my 2 favorite fighters fight in the same ring, and that was a blessing in itself. But if you go look at that fight was terrible. That fight was terrible. And you guys want to see that again? Come on. Like, can we be honest with ourselves and just face the reality that Mike Tyson is inching towards 60 years old and Jake Paul is over here fighting this guy? Jake, if you really want to prove yourself, go fight Jairo Pataya. Go fight Briedis. Go fight the cruiserweights that Usyk fought to become cruiserweight champion. You talk about Canelo. Go fight Canelo. Like try. Now he's gonna say I tried to make those fights and they didn't happen, or everybody's ducking him. Nobody's ducking you, Jake, because nobody's taking you seriously.
Ain't nobody ducking your basic overhand and your 1-2 step back. Ain't nobody ducking that. Okay, Badu Jack can have something for that. Okay, ain't nobody ducking that. Ain't nobody ducking that.
And on top of that, Badu Jack was on a couple of his cards in the beginning of his career. So go schedule a fight with Badu Jack. This is what I mean. Your goal, you said it, was to be a world champion. And you're not taking the steps now, or you're taking steps back to becoming a world champion.
Hey, be a world champion, all right, in the Senior Citizens League. Yeah, he will.
He found the loopholes of that.
He found the loopholes.
Beat
Mike Tyson.
The only thing Jake Paul's a senior citizen at is Disney Channel. That's it. Other than that, I'm being honest. But I really look at it, this fight shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. It just shouldn't. I'm not excited about it. To me and Breezy, the main event is the co-main. That's the main event for us. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, too. You want to see a great fight? That's the co-main event right there. So, honestly, dude, I just don't like this fight, with all the news coming out about Mike Tyson, him being nauseous, him going through surgery, him the videos of him being sore and not being and having trouble walking. I just don't think this is a good fight for him. You want to add something?
I tell my kids in the future that Jake Paul was Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo is crazy. It's definitely going to draw a lot of attention at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, but I just don't like this, man. And I hope that somebody cancels or backs out, honestly. Andreas Hale of ESPN has announced that Terence Crawford is now the WBC champion in recess at 147 pounds. So that means that he has been downgraded from WBC champion to WBC champion in recess, which, in case for those who don't know what that means, it means that it's not relinquishing a belt, but it's basically relinquishing your status in a way. So he's downgraded himself at 147, which obviously Terence Crawford was going to make the weight at 154 to fight Madrimov. Also, him versus Madrimov will now also be a WBC final eliminator to determine the mandatory challenger for Sebastian Fundora versus Errol Spence. That means we could possibly get Spence versus Crawford too. And I don't want to hear those people saying, I don't want to see that. Spence is going to get knocked out in 3. Stop. All right. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't know what type of shape Spence is in. As a matter of fact, for all we know, Sebastian Fundora can beat Errol Spence. Let's not take that out of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Sebastian Fundora had an impressive win against Tim Tszyu. Let's not act like Sebastian Fundora is a bum. Everybody's saying he's a tune-up compared to Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's a different beast. There's a lot of guys. 85 to 90% of the boxers in boxing today are probably tune-ups compared to Terence Crawford. Like we said, Inoue, Crawford, Usyk are in their own level. And some people will put Canelo in there as well. But those 3 are on their own different pedestal. What I'm going to say is this. I do want to see that rematch. If Errol Spence is 100% healthy and doctors are recommending that he he can still fight and they're saying he's good to go, I want to see that rematch. Because again, we're fans of you lose, get your get back. At least try to get it, and if you lose 2 times in a row, then at least you could say you went in there and you gave it your best. But Errol Spence, he did reference on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that this could be his last fight and then deleted it. We don't know what's going to happen. But all I know is if this is not his last fight, we could possibly get Crawford versus Spence too. And I'm going to be honest, it's still going to draw numbers because it's Crawford versus Spence. So what I will say is shout out to Michael Benson for clarifying that this is also going to be a mandatory fight. Shout out to Andreas Hale for giving the news for ESPN. What I will say is if Errol Spence can win and Terence Crawford can get their dubs, then that means we're going to get Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford because Terence Crawford will be his mandatory. Now, I know Terence Crawford didn't have no interest in fighting Errol Spence again. But look, you want to become undisputed at 154 and Errol Spence gets that WBC belt, guess what? That's who you're going to have to go up against right there. And on top of that, that fight is also going to be for the WBO belt. So you're going to have to come through him one way or the other. You're going to have to go through him one way or the other. So you know what, Breezy? I can keep on talking about this fight, but I'm going to pass it on to you. Your thoughts on Terence Crawford not only being downgraded to WBC champion in recess at 147 pounds, but also him versus Madrimov being the title eliminator for the WBC champion between Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence. And I do want to mention before I pass on to you, who's to say Madrimov doesn't beat Terence Crawford? Like I said, we don't know too much about this guy, but he has an insanely good amateur experience, an insanely good amateur background, very unorthodox. So who's to say Madrimov isn't the guy to dethrone Terence Crawford? But all these little things come into effect. I want to get your thoughts on all of those things. WBC putting Terence Crawford as at recess and him versus Madrimov being the mandatory for the WBC champion between Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence.
I'm gonna answer that as a collective question. I'm gonna give a collective answer. Everything is all done in place for a reason. Now, when the news first came out, I was thinking the other day, I was like, dang, they might just be setting up for Spence and Crawford. And I was like, nah, Breezy, can't be. It can't be. Crawford's got Madrimov. Spence got Fundora. There's no way. There's no way he's gonna set up for that. And then what Earl talking about retirement, then I thought about it. And I was like, Earl kind of deleted that. I personally feel that if Earl beats Fundora, Earl is not retiring. If he beats Fundora, look, Earl don't give me the type of vibes that Fundora is gonna be his last fight. If Earl's going to have a last fight, he's going to cash out. Trust and believe that. That's Errol Spence Jr. Do you cash out by fighting Fundora, or do you really cash out by fighting Crawford too, and maybe even a trilogy? And for somebody that's going to say, oh, he did one finger. No, I did too. I just didn't have the other finger in the frame. Okay, I know how to count. But you cash out by fighting Crawford a second time, and maybe even a third time. So I truly believe everything was done in place for a reason. Obviously, I seen both of these guys at some point going to 154. I knew Spence was going to go to 154. I knew Crawford was going to go to 154 eventually. And as far as everything concerning 147, to me, in my personal opinion, that's Boots Island. And I think anything around 154 is set up in place. I think because the rematch didn't happen in 147, the deadline was up. I think it was kind of like, oh, well, the Crawford Errol Spence saga's over with. Oh, so we thought. Nah, they're at 154 now. And with things going out with 154, both of these fights can go either way. Fundora can win. Madrimov is boxing. But I'm telling you right now, the way they're doing these things, they want Spence and Crawford to fight again. And I'm letting you know right now, I wouldn't be mad if it happened. I'm gonna put it like this: I want Errol to win, and I want Crawford to win because I want to see the rematch. Just because this news came out and they doing it like this, now I want to see it 10 times. I want to see it more than I did the first fight. I really want to see the rematch now. So you know what? I hope Crawford win, and I hope Spence win, because you know what? Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford at 147. We seen it. We seen how it went. We accepted it. We moved on. But Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford at 154. a weight that they can more than likely both say was healthy for them, oh my goodness. We gotta see it. I'm here for it. I hope Spence win and I hope Crawford win.
We got to see it. And look, the last thing I want to see is Terence Crawford start typing on X talking about how this is a travesty and how they're all trying to do him dirty. Okay, Terence Crawford, you are a bad man. All right. That is a guy who means business. Every time he talks, he means business. He is one of the very few guys who, when he says something, I truly believe it because he's that type of guy. But how are you going to go on X every single time there's a problem and start tweeting like you're Elon Musk? It doesn't make any sense. All right. What you need to do is put the phone down, accept what's going to happen. And if you got to go through, and look, you beat Spence once. So you know what? You want to be undisputed at 154, go do it again. You know what I'm saying? And Spence, go get your get back. Enough of this back and forth crap. You know what I'm saying? I'm sick and tired of it. Now, we also have to take into effect that it's obviously the odds are unlikely for this, but it's very possible that we could slightly possible. I'll say slightly possible that we could see Madrimov versus Fundora. If Madrimov beats Terence Crawford and Fundora beats Spence, we could get Madrimov versus Fundora. And I think people need to understand that that could be an outcome, okay? Now, a lot of people aren't taking Fundora to beat Spence, and a lot of people aren't taking Madrimov to beat Crawford. But you know what? If those two things happen, then we could get that. And that would be a very unlikely, a very unique 154-pound fight. We could get Crawford versus Fundora. We can get Spence versus Madrimov. There's a lot of different outcomes that can happen, which is why the fight in October between Spence and Fundora is so big. And that's why the fight in August between Crawford and Madrimov is so big. So anything could happen. I'm ready for either outcome, man. I'm ready for either outcome. Obviously, the most favorable outcome that the fans would probably want. I mean, I can't say the fans because some fans might not want this, but for us, at least, the most favorable outcome would be Spence versus Crawford, too. But overall, styles make fights. And I feel like no matter which fight gets made, it's going to be a great battle of who has the better style and whose style is going to reign supreme when they go to fight. And honestly, man, I'm truly excited to see what happens on those two nights. I really am. But I'm glad that this news came out. You know, I think this news is very good for boxing. Obviously, there's going to be some people who disagree. There's going to be some people who don't like to see Spence versus Crawford again because they think Crawford's going to do him dirty. Or some people who fear for Spence's health. We still fear for Spence's health. But if, again, we're going to say it one more time. If Errol Spence is fully healthy and he is able to get into that ring and he is able to still continue to fight, I have no problem seeing that. So we'll see what happens. But overall, this has been a very unique two-topic episode, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we covered Mike Tyson. We covered Spence and Fundora now being basically whoever wins that fight is going to have to face the winner of Terence Crawford versus Madrimov, which is huge. I think that's pretty good for boxing. Obviously, there's going to be some people that disagree with us, but you know, if you disagree, put it in the comments. If you agree, put it in the comments. And last but not least, again, look, we're on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Instagram, X or Twitter, Threads. You name it, we got it. So make sure you guys go and check out the Puncher's Point, especially the podcast. Make sure you guys go check us out on all podcast platforms. Follow, subscribe, like, share, watch, listen, comment, all those types of things. Get interactive. Get, in the wise words of Terence Crawford, we get busy. So you know what? Let's get busy. With that being said, I'm going to say it once and one time only. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.